Hey guys, Rener Gracie here at Gracie University. Excited to talk to you about GST hosting opportunities. Gracie Survival Tactics is our jiu-jitsu based defensive tactics solution for law enforcement, and we've been teaching this program now for 30 plus years. And the only way this program has grown as big as it has is because we partner with agencies around the country to make the courses possible at remote locations. We send out our mobile training team and they conduct these courses at remote locations, typically government first responder agencies across the country. And because the course becomes available in another region, people in that region who would not be able to send their officers, right, or their staff members to California to learn from us here at Gracie University headquarters can access the program because you brought it to your region. So we're here to talk about it, you guys. Benefits, requirements, and kind of break it all down. So if you're on the fence or you're considering bringing GST to your region, I want to answer all the most common questions and make sure that you understand fully what this process entails and get you fired up because it's a significant service that you're doing for your community by bringing GST and making it available to those locally. So let's talk about the benefits. Number one, free GST for your agency. The way it works is once you sign on and you agree to be a host agency for a Gracie Survival Tactics week-long certification course, level 1, level 2, dual course, and I'll talk about the differences later. Once you sign on to be the hosting organization, the primary benefit is that you get free GST spots for your agency for every 10 paid spots from outside agencies. So for every 10 people who sign up for a GST course at your location, your agency gets credit for one free spot. If 100 people sign up, which is not uncommon, your agency gets 10 free spots. Now you might say we need 15 spots and you can pay for the difference and buy 5 more spots, but your credit for those 10 spots based on the outside agencies enrolling, right? 100 people enroll, 100 outside agencies send their officers and 2, 3, 4 officers per agency. If that number reaches 50, then you get 5 free spots. So 1 to 10 ratio on the free spots exclusively for the hosting organization. And you get to choose. You want to give those spots to your own officers. If you don't have enough officers to send, you can even gift one of your free slots to a neighboring agency. If maybe they sent 6 or 7 guys and gals and you want to gift them that 8th spot, because you can and you don't need the spot, that's up to you. The point is they're credited to you and you can do with them as you wish. So besides the free training, right, which is a huge perk because many agencies, they want to step forward into the future. They want to bring jiu-jitsu in. They want to bring GST in, but they don't have the money to send their officers to Torrance, California, or to a remote location anywhere to attend and participate in the course. So most GST hosting agencies are born out of that agency's desire to bring in GST, but lacking the funds to send their officers to learn and participate and complete the course remotely, wherever that might be. So if that sounds like you, we need GST, we need jiu-jitsu, but we don't have the money to go get it, well then you can make up for it by hosting and let us use your location as the hub, bring outside agencies to attend locally. We send our mobile training team and we train a bunch of people thanks to the efforts that you put forward so that your agency could be that official host in the region. Now, the second benefit, besides free GST spots for your agency, is that you have a significant regional impact, right? Think about this. The same way you might be struggling to get your officers to be able to travel a long distance to attend a GST course, think of how many other agencies, how many other officers, how many other organizations in your geographic region suffer from the same fate. Now, if you're in an agency where your chief is like, go get the training, travel, you are blessed. Trust me, they're few and far in between. Most agencies, the officers are not sent for training very far. Maybe an hour drive, maybe a 2-hour drive, but like flights and tickets and rental cars and hotels, as soon as it becomes that equation, they're like, nope, we're not gonna do it. So by you becoming a host and bringing GST to your geographic region, you're having an impact by making this important training and this certification available to, right, regionally nearby located agencies and officers who would never otherwise have access to the information. And boy, are they grateful, you guys. So it does take some work to be a GST host. You have to help us spread the word. But man, is it so rewarding when the course comes together and all those officers show up from neighboring agencies from an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours away, thanks to your hard work, all those agencies come together and that course happens and they get that training. Then they're certified and they go back and they teach their colleagues these skills because you made it possible. And lives are saved on the law enforcement side, but also on the civilian side. All of this because you made better training available in the region, because you did the work. It starts with you. So free slots for your officers and significant regional impact. I'd go so far as to say, leave a regional legacy, right? By being the first one to bring GST to the region and then become a host. And typically once you host one time, it kind of goes on autopilot thereafter, and it's much, much easier to host subsequent courses because people already know about it. The word has spread. All those officers that came, they'll go back and tell their additional officers, send back people, recertification in future years. So everything kind of takes a life of its own once you do the initial first time, new location host. Once you do that, it's pretty much downhill sailing or cruising from there. All right. Now let's talk about the requirements. What are we looking for to qualify a host to partner with us to make GST available in their region? Number one is we need a type A leader. So within the hosting organization, there has to be someone who has, for lack of a better term, the energy like Rener. Okay, meaning you're a go-getter, you're a hard worker, you're willing to, you understand what's at stake. So for you, the hard work of, liaisoning with our Torrance Academy, with our GST coordinators, with our team here at headquarters, and making the information available, spreading the word, telling people, getting on the phone, sending out emails, helping us propagate flyers to the local agencies, all of that work. You have to want to do this. You have to be excited by the prospect of being a host in the region. And we've had type A, superstar hosts, and we've also had people say, I want to host, and they come in, and literally within weeks of dealing with them, we're like, oh my God, it's like watching paint dry. They don't care. It's so slow. They're not committed. No, we don't want that. So the number one prerequisite is if you have the fire. If you want to do this, you understand what's at stake, and you're willing to put in the work to help get this first GST scheduled at your agency off the ground so that all the additional ones thereafter just fall naturally into place. Now, besides having a type A leader, the organization itself has to be a government, first responder, law enforcement agency of some sort. So we're looking to partner with a government law enforcement or first responder agency to be the formal host. So on paper, Los Angeles Police Department, the New York Police Department, right? So we partner with the police department. The police department is the hosting location, and we are the provider of the certification, training, and course, but you guys are the on-paper host. And it doesn't have to be a huge organization. I just cited two, but Broadmoor, California will probably go down in history because they were I think it was 6 sworn officers, six and nothing else, just the number 6 sworn officers at this tiny little agency in Northern California, just outside of San Francisco, Broadmoor, California. And guess what? They hosted a massively successful 85, 90 people in a GST. They got tons of free spots for all their officers, right? Someone had to patrol those weeks, but other than that, all their trainers got free spots. They were able to give away some free spots to other agencies that signed up and participated. And interestingly, that same GST hosted at a tiny little agency became the focal point of an HBO special that many of you may have seen, Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. It was actually recorded in Broadmoor at the smallest agency to ever host a GST. They were the centerpiece of that. Broadmoor, California. Here we are, HBO, Real Sports, doing GST. And we did an amazing course, and we wrapped him up, and we arrested the TV host. It was awesome. You can see the special. It's on our website. Point being, the size of the agency does not matter. They had a superstar host. He wouldn't take no for an answer. He hosted the course. He talked to all his colleagues at local agencies. We filled up the course. They got their free spots, and they didn't have a training facility, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They used a basketball gym and then borrowed wrestling mats from the high school, and we filled it up, and it couldn't have been more successful. Amazing experience. So type A host, government, law enforcement, first responder agency as the partner. Now, in rare cases, we'll allow a non-government entity to serve as a host. Okay. Talk about like some of these organizations that run corrections facilities, right? Across the country. They're private sector organizations, but they do law enforcement services largely in the corrections facilities in the corrections sector. So I'm like, yo, you can host. You do this work. You have contacts in this field. You have a ton of instructors that you need to get certified. You can be a host for a GST, right? That can happen. And not to mention, while we're on the topic, a GST can also be done privately, where you say, hey, this is a private GST. It's only for my agency. There are no outside agencies permitted. And in that case, it's a different equation. Reach out to our GST team. And if you want to do a private closed GST course, it's a little bit different. Obviously, you need the facility. You need to have a bunch of officers from your own organization. Naturally, those won't all be free. But the point is, it's a slightly different arrangement. So back to the story here. Non-government agency can be a host if it's established in the law enforcement, security, and that first responder world, and they want to host and they believe they can pull together enough participation to make it worth our mobile training team's while to get them out there and make it happen. Then we're down to work with you guys to make that happen. All right. Now, type A leader at the helm, qualified hosting organization, formal hosting organization, typically government, law enforcement, first responder. Now we get into the venue, the actual space in which this needs to take place. There's the space and there's the actual mats. We need mats, but you can't put mats unless you have space first. Where we find mats, we can be pretty creative, and I'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's talk about the venue. Ideally, you have your own facility. If you're a larger agency, Arlington, Texas has been a host for 20 years, and they have a huge basketball gym, they're good to go. It's in-house, they have their own mats, nothing to worry about there, right? They run big courses. They have typically 80 to 150 people in these courses, so they're used to it, and they host year after year, sometimes twice a year. Amazing host. If you don't have the space in your own venue, you can look outside. We can look for local churches. We can look for a local rec center, a high school, right? An MMA or BJJ facility. You can look for a local martial arts school, right? They have built-in mats in many cases in large open spaces. But what we're looking for is about 3,400 square feet of space. And depending on the size of the class, right, whether it's 30, 40, 50, 60 people or more, then obviously that will determine how much actual mats we need. But generally, as a safe starting point, we like to start with a 3,400 square foot open space. This is not split over multiple rooms. This needs to be one, right, continuous open floor plan where we could, in theory, have people filled out throughout that same space, and then a teacher could present to a room full of people in that 3,400 square feet. Now, if you have the space, 3,400 square feet, at least you're good to go. Now, sometimes they say, well, Rener, we have 2,500 square feet. Can we host? Listen, it would be making an exception to allow that to happen in a smaller space, 2,000 square feet. But as we can do that as long as there's an understanding between the host and, right, Gracie University headquarters GST support team, that if the course enrollment starts to increase rapidly, such that it appears that it's going to outgrow that space, there needs to be an understanding that we will look for a new space for the same course. It's 6 months out, the course, right? Instead of using this space, man, we're already at 72 people and we're at 2,500 square feet. It's not going to work. Let's go ahead and start looking for another place at another venue, whether it's a school, a church, a rec center, a gym, somewhere else, right? Might be a little less convenient in terms of having to get another space, but it's worth it because we need to allow that course to continue to grow for our benefit and for the hosting organization's benefit. So we don't ever want the course to be limited by the physical, right, container in which this course is taking place, right? The space in which this is happening. So as long as that's an understanding, you can start with less space, right? 2,000, 2,500, knowing that we may need to expand the venue if the enrollment warrants looking for a new venue as we continue to market the course alongside you. Now, in terms of mats, always best if you have your own mats. If you don't, that's okay. Look for a local high school and say, hey, can we borrow the wrestling mats, right? Can we rent them? We're even happy to pay a fee to use them. Local MMA gym or BJJ school, hey, can we use your facility from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. 5 days this week when you don't have typically classes going on or you have minimal classes? Can we pay you for the use? And we're, of course, the one to cover that cost, but we're willing to negotiate with these venues, mat suppliers, to basically even go out of pocket and pay for the use of a facility or mats. And again, we cover those costs. So it's no hard cost for the agency. You just need to work with us to communicate with the different venues and put the pieces together, and any out-of-pocket expenses to pull together the mats, the facility, or whatnot, whatever other variables, we are happy to finance that out of our pockets. Okay, so we're more than willing to help there. Now, in some rare instances, there's a large course, there's massive space, we have the basketball gym, there's no wrestling gym, there's no wrestling mats, there's no local MMA mats we can use, no gymnastic, nothing. So we need to actually talk to a mat rental company and have them ship the mats into location. This is a last resort because now we have shipping fees and the mat rental fees, but we've done it. For large enough courses, it's totally worth it. So all by way of saying, if you have a type A leader and we have a solid hosting agency, when it comes to the facility, you can, of course, help us get creative in terms of what we're looking for. And when it comes to the mats, we can always find a way if we work together. The closer the mats, the more affordable and the easier it is to make happen. The further the mats, the more expensive, but in many cases, it's still worth it because we can make a course happen, even if it costs several thousands of dollars to ship the mats to the location. If we have a large course for all those, local law enforcement organizations, it's more than worth it for everyone involved, all right? So we'll work with you to make that happen. Now, when we talk about regions of GST hosting, this is an important piece. How do you know if you qualify to host a GST, and is your region even desirable? So a couple things to factor into this. Number one, the typical rule is we don't like hosting GSTs within 2-hour drives of one another. Simply put, right? So here we have one at LAPD, and then maybe we can have one in San Diego. It's about a 2-hour drive. That would make sense. I mean, we've done that at the Naval Special Warfare Navy SEAL Training Center down in Coronado. We've done GSTs here and we do them down there because some people in Southern California in that San Diego region would attend a GST at the Naval Special Warfare compound, but they might not make the drive up here to stay in a hotel. So typically 2 hours, right around 2 hours, you get to the point where it doesn't make sense to drive every day. So you need a hotel. And that's why we tend to spread our GSTs at least 2 hours apart from the next one. Now, in places where it's densely populated communities, we're talking Dallas, Texas, New Jersey, New York, where it's densely populated like that, we could have a GST that is well within the 2-hour driving kind of radius, and it still be successful as long as those two GSTs aren't happening in the same month. So we might put one in March and one in November, right? They're within an hour drive of each other, or give or take, but they're far enough apart on the schedule that the success of this one will feed the success of this one, and this one will feed the success of this one, because they're gonna tell their colleagues, and they're gonna wanna send more officers to get certified based on the success of their initial attendance at whatever location they tried first. So it's not that it's out of the equation, but generally in kind of more sparsely populated regions of the country, we typically say, hey, if it's within 2 hours, we have our host there, we have our region, we're good to go. Now, if there is a host in your region within an hour or two, and you're like, yeah, I don't think I can host, I think I'm too close to them, it wouldn't make sense. But if they ever stop hosting, I would love to host. Then we would love to talk to you. So we have a hosting wait list where it says, hey, someone's already doing Dallas, but my agency is 47 minutes away, and I would love to host as well. And if not, at the same time, if they ever stop hosting, I would love to become the formal host. So please reach out to our GST support team and let them know. Say, hey, I want to get on the wait list for hosting in or around the Dallas area. If you would consider me. Great, you're on the list. If ever that host either falls through or doesn't do the work to make the course successful in their partnership with us, then we can say, hey, you're not right for the job. You're not a type A, you're a type C- leader. And even though it's a great agency, you're not the one cut out to help us push this forward. So we're going to go to our alternate host that's on the wait list. All right. So 2-hour drive test, except for very densely populated regions. The bottom line is if you're not sure whether you qualify to host or not, all you got to do is reach out to our GST support team and say, hey guys, I would love to host. Am I too close to any other hosts in the region? If not, I would love to take that spot. And I am the type A leader that you're looking for. I'm willing to do the work. I know the impact this will have on my officers, and I know the impact it will have on all the agencies locally that would never have the ability to send their officers for remote training of any kind. All right, now let's talk about the actual hosting process, the actual work. So here's how it works. You say you want to be a host. We say it's perfectly. The region is great. You seem to have great energy on the phone. You clearly understand the value and the benefits of doing this. You have a space in mind. You even have a local high school gym that's willing to donate mats. So the logistics are pretty squared away. So it's looking promising that you would be a great host. Not that all those pieces have to be in place at first, but preliminary conversations suggest that you are the type A leader we need in the region, and we would love to work with you to make this opportunity possible for you and with you and for us. Number one we're looking for is people that are highly probable candidates for attending a GST at your agency. So you have contacts in the state, in the region, in the country, right? So people that you have good relationships with, if you can contact them and say, hey, I'm thinking about hosting Gracie Survival Tactics, level 1, level 2, level 1 and 2, whatever. Would you want to send some officers to get this certification? Here are the proposed dates generally. Would you send some people, even if you don't have dates, would you send some people if I hosted the course? Yes, for sure. We would send our 6 instructors. Cool. Call another agency. Hey, partner, what's up? Long time no talk. Hey, I'm going to host the GST. Would you send some guys? Yeah, we'll send 4. Cool. Hey, another one. Hey, well, I'll send 2. Cool. So now you have all these people that are indicating that they're highly likely to send participants if in fact you host the course. This is you getting a preliminary read. Right? And a preliminary read on highly likely attendance is about 90%. So if on the phone they say, yes, if you host, I'm 90% or higher likely going to send my instructors to attend this certification. If that is understood and that is accepted by the context that you've reached out to, and you can relay that to the GST support team and say, hey guys, I have 17 prospects that are 90% or greater to make this happen. Great, 15, 12, whatever number of people that you can reach out to and get the initial feelers out. You'll want to do that work for sure after you get initial confirmation that your region is free and we're looking at you for potential hosting. That's going to be the first thing they ask of you, is to create a list of probable attendees based on that 90% test of likelihood of attendance, all right? As soon as you do that, our team will reach out to those leads to confirm that they are in fact likely to attend, and then we'll add the course listing to the gracieuniversity.com/GST website. So it's on the schedule as a formal course. So in addition to creating that opportunity for your leads to actually register, there's now the opportunity for any leads all over the country, all over the world, and people will fly in from out of state, from out of country sometimes to attend a GST, right? In Broadmoor, California. They'll come do the course. People will start registering for your course and filling it up. And then what we're looking for is to reach no less than 30 paid participants at least 6 weeks before the course takes place. That's kind of a healthy threshold we want to arrive at. Now, in many cases, 30 turns into 40, 50, 60, 70, right? Right before the course takes place, everyone kind of registers. That's also possible. But as a safe spot, we like to have 30 confirmed paid participants at your location at least 6 weeks out. That's our safety net to make sure that everything goes forward and the course is still going to go down. So you're going to want to help us, of course, get over that threshold by making sure that all of your warm leads register, in addition to all those that come through our marketing channels and efforts. Now, once again, once you're successful in this first course, maybe 30, 35, 40, 47 people. Some initial courses have 85, 110 people on the first course. It's unbelievable. So it's just, if the geographic region doesn't have a GST centered there, as soon as one launches, it's not uncommon, as long as there's a type A leader helping spread the word, it's not uncommon for it to fill up rather quickly and be a great success. Once you have a successful course, it's very natural to say, hey, Charlie, let's put it out on the schedule. Next year, same time, we're doing our level 1 again. This is amazing. We're going to have other officers that want to certify. There's certain turnover in the agency, so we need new instructors certified. And all these officers who came through, right, 5-star reviews, they all loved it. They all want to send their colleagues now. So it's like, for them, it was like a test run for many agencies. And now that they love GST, which is invariably the case, I can say that from the reviews, now they want to send additional officers to learn the skills, to learn the teaching methodologies, and become force multipliers. So now that you've done that one course, life is great. And throughout this whole process, you guys, I just want to emphasize, I've said this name Charlie quite a bit. So Charlie is the director of GST operations and will be your direct liaison in making this opportunity happen. Now, to be clear, Charlie was the defensive tactics coordinator for Arlington, Texas Police Department. And he hosted GSTs over 18 plus years at his agency, sometimes twice a year, was our most type A, energy, go get him host for the longest time. He was such an amazing host. He did this, what we're proposing that you guys do and what we're creating the opportunity for you guys to do with us here. He did this for well over a decade, almost 2 decades, so successfully that we said, Charlie, you're a super host. You understand this process so well. All the nuances, how to communicate, how to answer the questions, how to get buy-in from command staff and upper management, all of that he's done 100 times over, that we said, Charlie, we want to hire you, bring you in as GST operations coordinator so you can be the person that deals directly with all of these prospective hosts at new regions throughout the country. And he did. And he retired early, right? 29 years, I think he did, a few years before whatever his full term was. He retired early. He jumped on full GST and he's never looked back. And we're killing it. We're doing great. We're sharing this stuff with the world. He serves a critical role in that. You're going to love him. right? He's an incredible collaborator, incredible communicator, will tell you exactly what's necessary to be successful, has a great team that works with and under him to make these courses happen and to support you guys in making this happen. The point is, Charlie will become your new best friend once you sign on and say, we're gonna do this, we're gonna host a GST at our organization. He will be with you every step of the way. You will have to do some work, but every challenge, every obstacle, everything that you've been through, he's been through 100 times over, or he has helped other hosts overcome 100 times over. The point is, no one better than Charlie for this role. And once you start interacting with him, you're going to understand why he's the guy when it comes to this regard. Now, typically the way it works is once you have a successful level 1 at your agency in your region, the opportunity does eventually open up for a level 2. Now more than ever, people want to do level 2 GSTs. And the reason is, no surprise. Okay, first of all, when you do level 2, it counts as a recertification for level 1, in addition to learning several new skills, techniques, right? 23 lessons in level 1, 17 new lessons in level 2, and in those new lessons is included the Safe Wrap system, our proprietary method of 2-on-1 restraint that is specifically designed to give officers the greatest degree of control with the lowest probability of injury to all parties, subject and officers, during any multiple officer restraint of a single subject. Safe Wrap is included in GST level 2. So when you get GST level 2 certified, you're getting your level 2 certification, you're getting your GST level 1 recertification, and you're getting your Safe Wrap instructor certification. So it's essentially a triple certification in GST level 2. So naturally, many hosting organizations are like, yo, when can we do our level 2? Obviously, 1 comes before 2, but I want to explain a little bit of the nuances between the relationships between those two courses. One option is to do a GST level 1 year, typically a GST level 1 a second year, and then the third time to say, hey, we want to do a GST level 2 this year. Level 1, level 2. The reason why you have to wait is because you need to build a pool of potential candidates for that level 2, right? We can't do a level 2 if there's no one that qualifies to participate in it. So hosting a level 2 on that third year might make sense. If the first 2 courses had like 50 or 75 people, now the aggregate is 150 people that have done level 1 in the region. So they would all be qualified candidates for a level 2 course, which makes sense for us to host level 2 in the region. That's one approach. There is another approach. Another approach is to say, hey, I want to do a level 1 and level 2 back-to-back certification as a new hosting location. So now you announce to the area and say, hey guys, we're hosting level 1 week 1 and level 2 week 2. And in that case, people who want to do just level 1 can do just level 1. People who want to immediately get the level 1 and level 2, they can do both courses back to back. 10 training days. They get level 1, they get level 2, they get Safe Wrap, they get all the teaching methodologies, all 40 GST lessons. So when they go back, they have the full buffet of GST skills to pull from while empowering, educating their officers with these techniques and skills. That's the holy grail. Now, our concern would be, if you're gonna host a level 1 and level 2 back to back, we just need to make sure there are enough interested parties in the back-to-back equation that it's worth having our mobile training team go out there for 2 weeks back to back. So level 1, level 2 back-to-back courses is a great idea, especially if there's a high degree of interest in the Safe Wrap certification that only comes in level 2, and there's a high degree of interest in people not having to wait 2 additional years or send their officers remotely, right, somewhere else to get that level 2 when they get level 1 in your region. So it's becoming a very popular model to have GST level 1 and level 2 courses back to back. Now, there's also what is known as a GST dual certification course. And the GST dual certification, instead of being 2 5-day courses, it's 1 8-day course, 5 plus 3. Level 1 the first week, and in 3 days of the second week, we complete all of level 2. Okay? Now, the one caveat here is when we do it this way as a strict dual certification, people cannot come in just for the level 2 portion. They either come in for the entire 8 days all at once, or they only do the level 1 portion. Now, the dual certification course works great if we're entering a new territory and the bulk of the people in attendance, the bulk of the officers who will attend are gonna do level 1 and level 2, let's say 95% of them, with 5% doing just level 1, then the dual certification is great because now we're all charging through all of it. But if you're in a region where you've done multiple level 1s and people might come from out of state who've already done level 1 and they wanna do just the level 2 portion, they cannot do that in the 8-day format because the 3 days dedicated to the level 2 portion, right? 8-day dual course, those 3 days don't count as a standalone level 2 safe wrap certification, if that makes sense. So if there are people in the territory who've already done level 1 and you suspect that they will want to attend only a level 2 course, you're better off offering the level 1 and level 2 full 5 days back to back. Because that way someone can come in and do just the level 2 portion or just the level 1 portion. When you do the dual, they can do the level 1, but they can't do just the level 2. They either do the whole thing or stick to just level 1. All right, so these details can be sorted out with Charlie when you start talking to him in terms of what option is best for your region. If that sounded like a lot of information, which it kind of did, that's okay. Just talk to Charlie and say, hey, Charlie, what do you think? We have a high demand in our region. There's a lot of interested officers, officer agencies. Should we do a dual? Should we do 2 back-to-back, level 1 and level 2? You know, we could definitely get the full gambit right out the gate. Everyone gets safe wrap. Everyone gets all 40 techniques. These agencies locally understand GST is a 40 lesson system. They would love to do that. And depending on how much buy-in you have for level 1 only or a level 1 plus a level 2, that will inform Charlie what the best option is. You guys work together, and once you guys come to an agreement, off we go. Off to the races, all right? So level 1, level 2, dual. I think the important thing to wrap up with about all of this is that it's a 6 to 9 month process. From the time you say, I'm gonna host, and we designate you as a viable hosting location, I wanna host, this is gonna happen. Okay, let's go. You're the host. Let's rock and roll. We've checked your leads. Typically, the course doesn't take place until 6 to 9 months out from that initial correspondence and confirmation that your region is available and you are the type A leader for this hosting opportunity. The reason it's important to know that is because 6 to 9 months out, right? It's a reasonable amount of time, but nothing starts until you say go. Now, you guys, GST hosts and their type A leaders, many of whom I hope I am speaking to right now, hold a very special place in our hearts because the spreading and sharing of this curriculum and the important information it contains, the important skills it teaches, would not be possible. It doesn't happen if not for hosts saying, yep, I'm the one. This is the region. We desperately need it. And I got you guys. Let's rock and roll. Let's go together. We're going to go all the way. We need you guys to say go. We need you to be fired up and we need you to take that first step. And that's why I'm making this video. And if you think, oh, my agency is too small, no, you guys. It's not too small. Broadmoor, California, 6 sworn officers, one of the most successful GSTs of all time. This is the point, you guys. You can do this. We can do this with you, but you have to take that first step. All right? So hopefully this answered most of your questions. Lend some clarity. Remember, free spots for your agency and the regional impact that will never be undone because you brought GST to the region that needed it so badly, because not every agency has a chief that will say, yeah, the sheriff, go ahead, travel to California, 3-hour flight, hotel, rental, food, per diem, and the course. Go ahead and do that. Not everybody has that privilege. Many do. Most do not. So they rely on hosts like yourself to say, I'm going to take care of this. We need this. And if they're going to come here and I'm not going to have to pay out of pocket, my agency has no cost incurred. All we got to do is say that we're going to help spread the word on this. If that's the reality, then I'm willing to rock and roll. Let's go. All right, friends? Can't wait to see how you pull this together. Can't wait for you to meet and interact with Charlie. You're going to say, oh yeah, now I see why Charlie's the guy. That's what I say every day I talk to this guy. Man, we're lucky to have a Charlie. And we're lucky to have you too. Once you raise your hand and say, I'm going to host a GST course or courses in my region. With all that said, if this sounds like something you want to do, reach out to Charlie and the GST support team, and they'll get back to you immediately, if nothing else, with a verdict of whether or not your region is available. And if it is, I can't wait to see what we make happen with your help.